This is a sad piece of music about the tragic end of some of the big names in rock music.
Like the two from the Allman Brothers or John Lennon?
Not really, but you'll see.
Hi everyone! This is another first for me today. It's going to be the band Bad Company and their song Shooting Star from 1975. And as I'm beginning to put things in context a bit more and get oriented in the history of rock, well, I've been spending a lot of time in the 60s with the Beatles. So this is a decade or so later, and I'm curious to see how it goes. Vlad has, as usual, given me a little background story before I dive in. So let's see what it says. Bad Company are an English rock supergroup that was formed in 1973. They had as manager the same gentleman who managed Led Zeppelin. Okay. He must have thought they were pretty decent. The lyrics of Shooting Star tell the story of a boy named Johnny who went on to become a rock star, but died after overdosing on whiskey and sleeping pills. That's interesting because it kind of mirrors the Wall a bit in terms of having a rock star or the life of a rock star be the subject of the song. The theme was influenced by the deaths of young rock stars as a result of drug addiction, particularly the deaths from overdoses of Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, and possibly Jimi Hendrix. Well, I have listened to Jim Morrison by now. Haven't listened to Jimi Hendrix yet, but it's coming up. In 2009, Paul Rodgers, who wrote the song, said, "I think Shooting Star has a lot of poignancy for me. It's strange how some songs can sort of come to you and write themselves, and Shooting Star and Elvis Presley are things I've been thinking about lately. For some reason, every time I turn around, I'm finding Elvis Presley. It's so strange. Back in the 70s, I was sent a message by Elvis through his manager, and he sent me his autograph and a message. And you know how people say, keep rockin' or whatever? Well, he said, take time to live. And I thought, what does that mean? And he died soon afterward. He was very much a shooting star, you know. Interesting. So I am beginning to get familiar with the stories of these different shooting stars. I know some, I don't know all, but I know enough to know that there was a lot of tragedy, especially with drug overdose and misuse and mistakes that happened during the height of rock music. And it is tragic, it is sad. So I'm curious to see how this subject is handled in this song. Well, let's dive in.
When he heard his first Beatles song, "Love Me Do," I think it was, and from there it didn't take him long. Got himself a guitar, used to play every night. Now he's in a rock and roll outfit, and everything's alright. Don't you know?
That's so interesting. As I was giving the introduction to this video, I was talking about how I've been spending a lot of time with the Beatles in the 60s, and I was also thinking of Lennon's end when Vlad gave me the first setup question. And now suddenly, here we are at the lyrics when Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song. "Love Me Do," I think it was. I just listened to that one for the first time recently. So here we have embedded in the lyrics the acknowledgement of the Beatles' influence on a whole generation of aspiring young rock artists.
And everything's alright, don't you know? Johnny told his mama, "Hey mama, I'm going away." someday. Yeah. Mama came to the door with a teardrop in her eye. Johnny said, don't cry, Mama, smiled and waved goodbye. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah. Don't you know that you
Interesting.
are a shooting star? Don't you know?
I wasn't expecting that chorus to enter. It strikes me from the beginning as a very solid rock style piece of music. It doesn't sound terribly complicated. It has a good solid beat. It has a nice little strumming guitar part. The electric guitar distortion is very tastefully inserted. It's not constantly assaulting and overwhelming the music. Instead, it's built in and it entered more in the chorus. And let's back up just a little bit.
Don't you know? Yeah, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? In all the world will love you just as long as you are.
Nice shift from the percussion side there, where we were getting this solid beat underneath everything. Bum, bum, dum, bum, 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 dum. And then we just started hearing ching, ching, ching. And it changed the whole character of the music just by that little instrumental adjustment. It's also interesting to see the way the chorus is treated. Don't you know? And then the chorus comes in and they're singing.
Don't you know that you are a shooting star?
Don't you know that you are a shooting star? And as they're singing that, it's walking up a little bit higher. Don't you know that you... And it's as if we are looking to see a star launched and to be shot across the sky.
Johnny said, don't cry, Mama, smiled and waved goodbye. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star?
I also enjoy, again, how the bass guitar is collaborating with the drums. It gives a lot of depth to the percussion without it having to be too loud to interfere with the experiencing the harmonies of the chorus and the texture of the electric guitar within the musical space.
Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? And all the world will love you just as long
And
as
then
you
here,
are.
at the same moment that the drummer shifts to just a ch, 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 the bass becomes more lyrical, almost singable. So all of that is working around the voice and to shape the musical experience.
We'll love you just as long as you are. Johnny made a record, went straight up to number
Now to our
one.
storytelling verse.
Suddenly everyone loved to hear him sing a song. Watching the world go by, surprising it goes so fast.
And this music strikes me very much as something that is conveying the impression of something that happened over time. It's storytelling, and the music is giving the feeling of we're going along, we're progressing through the story. And at the same time, because it's a story about a rock star, in fact, Johnny, who was inspired by the Beatles, and then we hear the strumming guitar in there as if that's little Johnny learning to practice and strum his guitar. Well, obviously he's already practiced a bit, but that guitar strumming in there fits the storyline. It is part of the picture that is being conveyed musically. And so we hear the strumming of the guitar because that was Johnny, and then we hear the whole rock music experience in the entire musical design. And at the same time, the pattern, we could say the rhythmic riff that is being played here is giving us this experience of traveling through time. Just dum dum bum bum. We're going along, dun, 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 because the story is being told, and the lyrics are giving us the rest of the story.
Johnny looked around him and said, well, I made the big time at last. Don't you know? Don't you know?
That's very nice there too, where he says, don't you know? Listen to the electric guitar. It's doing the same thing. In that moment, the guitar enters. Don't you know? It's the guitar saying, don't you know? And backing up the voice.
Made the big time at last. Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you?
And then the chorus.
You are a shooting star. Don't you know? Whoa, yeah. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Yeah. And all the world will love you just as long as you are a shooting star.
And here is the shooting star launching into a solo moment, heralded by the drums. Isn't it great how even a piece of music like this that doesn't make any pretenses of trying to paint an incredible musical picture or pretend to have anything profound to say, but yet you can tell when you're listening to it, you can tell that it is really nicely designed and put together. And when we first listen, we might think, okay, boom, boom, chink, boom, boom, chink, boom, boom, chink. Somebody's just driving down the road with their speakers loud. But then you listen to the music more and you realize, oh, there are things in there that make it work so well, that make it more than just, shall I say, a cookie cutter song, because it's these little elements. We've been hearing about Johnny, and he's finally made it, and then these drums, and we know that the classic guitar solo is coming up. It's almost stereotypical, because it is such a consistent pattern in rock music. Oh, there's going to be a guitar solo. Here it comes. Remember my first experiences listening to rock music, and I had no clue when the solo was going to be entering, but I've listened to enough now. I can recognize when it enters, and I understand its place in the general song shape and design. And it is a pattern. It is a schematic off of which practically everybody builds a song. But then, how do you handle it? And this is such a great example of using it to fine effect within the message of the music, the story that the music is telling.
Shooting star, yeah, and all the world will love you just as long as you are. Yeah, shooting star.
There it goes. Here he is as the shooting star. Sad idea. The world will love you just as long as you are a shooting star. Even in this storytelling, there's this element of melancholy, of sadness and recognition that it's really kind of an abuse of a person to hold them up and to idolize that person. And then to, when they fail, suddenly you don't care about them anymore. And at the same time, it's a recognition of the facts of life. This is reality. This is the way the world responds. When there is a bright star, they're fixated on it. They're fascinated with it. They adore it. They love it. And then, when it's gone, they go on their way. They don't care. They don't think. They don't remember. And so this line, and all the world will love you just as long as you are a shooting star. Just that long. You have to be a shooting star in order to be loved by the world. Well, that kind of makes us recognize that this is more a fascination, a fixation, rather than a real affection. And one of the downfalls of many shooting stars is the fact they reach fame, they reach fortune, they reach this pinnacle of accomplishment, and it feels so empty because, in spite of all their adoring fans, they don't have really solid relationships or a foundation on which to survive that kind of of fame. And that kind of fame is incredibly taxing. And all of that is just placed in this very simple song. It's not trying to be profound. And yet, when we stop and think about it, it's there in the lyrics. All the world will love you just as long as you are a shooting star.
Just as long as you are. Johnny died one night, died in his bed. Bottle of whiskey, sleeping tablets by his head. Johnny's life passed him by like a warm summer day. If you listen to the wind, you can still hear him play.
In that moment, if you listen to the wind, you can still hear him play. And then there's this place where the instruments step up to the front again. And you hear the wind wailing, and you hear the playing of the music after that line. Listen to the wind, and you can still hear him play.
If you listen to the wind, you can still hear him play. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know? Don't you know that you are a shooting star?
Even here, this driving this home. Don't you know that you are a shooting star? We've just heard Johnny's tragic end. With what? Overdose. Drug and alcohol. Mistake, abuse. Whatever, however it happened. He died in his sleep, and that was the end of his career, the end of his life. And then we're immediately carried back to, don't you know that you are a shooting star? And having just heard that whole narrative, it's driving home as a cautionary tale. This idea, you are a shooting star, whether you shine brightly enough for the world to love you or not. It's telling you, you have the same fate waiting you if you go the same way under the same circumstances. You have to have an anchor. You have to have something to hold you and keep you when you launch on a path like this, or it is absolute tragedy. And it's not a question of if, but when. Some manage to survive longer, but others, they blaze so brightly, and then they're gone like a flash because they just can't hold up to it.
Don't you know that you are a shooting star? Don't you know that you are? Don't you know that you are a shooting
It almost becomes a lament in the voice with the guitar. chorus. They're just singing na 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 na. No lyrics anymore. It's as if they themselves are singing the emptiness of the life. There is no content within that life to carry it on. And a shooting star has been pushed on stage, achieved his dream, and yet there is no substance, no content. That was a really interesting experience because it's not the kind of music that I think of if I want to tell such a story. It had a rather upbeat quality, just rhythmically, harmonically, very simple structure, design. And yet I'm thinking, for an audience that loves rock music, and as I said, driving down the road, boom, 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 boom. You hear it when the cars go thumping by. And I'm thinking, and they're listening to these lyrics. And if any of them stop to think about what the lyrics are actually saying and how the music is helping to present this story, then it's really a great way to, I don't know if I should say promote, but at least provide the opportunity for deeper thought among what I imagine would be a fairly young audience, and an audience who is very prone, like Johnny, to dreaming and pursuing and falling into such a trap. When I said towards the end of the song, the emptiness and the no content, I want to make it clear that I was not talking about the music itself. I'm talking about Johnny's fate, what brought Johnny to his fate. It was not the fact that he was a performer. It was not the fact that he fell in love with music. It was not the fact that he even became famous. Those are not death sentences on their own. The death sentence is when that kind of circumstance comes about to somebody who doesn't have the support system or the experience to recognize the danger signs. It brings me back to this idea of Elvis that I just read at the beginning. Paul Rogers said Elvis sent him, through his manager, a message, his autograph and a message. And instead of saying, keep rockin', or you're doing great, that's awesome, or have a grand life, he said, take time to live. And we all know what happened to Elvis. We all know Elvis's struggles and his own Johnny schoolboy story. And it's the way in which this is presented that I find fascinating to me. That it is presented in the context through the medium that has served so many Johnnies in this way. And at the same time, it is serving as a cautionary tale to all the Johnnies. And basically saying, you can be a shooting star, you can succeed, you can do whatever you need to do, but if you do it for the sake of the admiration, or if you do it and you arrive at that point and you don't take time to live, then this is likely to be your end as well. Again, it's fascinating to me that this music doesn't, in itself, if I were listening to the music without paying attention to the lyrics, I would think, okay, it's a rock song. It's a great beat-along rock song, but it wouldn't strike me as anything significant. It's the addition of the lyrics and the way it's presented, and then the way those few little touches are placed within the pattern of the music that makes the lyrics actually speak so well, and thereby makes the music eloquent as well. It's a two-way street here that's going on in this song, and I think it's great. As far as whether I like it, again, that comes to the question of what do we mean by like? This is not the kind of music that I feel drawn to listen to personally. That does not mean that I think it's horrible or that I dislike it. If you mean like by meaning do I appreciate it? Yes, of course, I can appreciate its value and what it offers. I can appreciate the fact that many people enjoy it. It's not my taste, but that's irrelevant. And it's a very well-presented story, a very well-presented piece of music. Finishing up, we have our today's question, and it comes from Lee Kennison. He asks, Amy, have you seen the Sound of Music movie with Julie Andrews that was filmed in the 1960s? It won 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and the lyrics were written by Roger Hammerstein. Like Music Man, it started out as a Broadway musical before it became a movie. It is based on the true story of the wealthy Von Trapp musical family that escaped from Austria during World War II. If you have ever been to Salzburg, Austria, you will recognize the beautiful scenery with beautiful non-rock music. If you have ever heard anyone sing the lines about the major scale, do, a deer, a female deer, re, a drop of golden sun, etc., then it came from this musical. A must-see for any music lover. I love the fact that Lee asked me, have I seen The Sound of Music? Because it is true, there are many things that I have not heard and have not seen that are embedded in the typical cultural awareness. However, yes, Lee, I have seen that. That is one that I actually do know. And yes, 2 years ago, I did get to go to Salzburg, Austria. And the scenery there, of course, being an American, knowing the movie, reminded me of the movie. But it is also Mozart's town. And so I got to enjoy going to Mozart's home, and which is now a museum, and doing a whole bunch of other music-related experiences in the town. And it was absolutely lovely. And yes, I agree. The Sound of Music is a must for any music lover and a great way to introduce especially young kids into the experience of singing and making music in a very nice way. Remember to check out my Ko-fi and Patreon pages, like and subscribe if you want to help me along my journey, and if you have any questions, you can always post them in the pinned post below any video where it says write your questions here. Post them as a reply to that comment. If you want really priority to any questions you have to ask, then consider becoming a member. And I'll see you next time.